Good morning, Bix Weir, roadtoroad.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of coffee. Oh, so much going on, it's ridiculous. But you got a front row seat on the road to Ruta. Um, a little different analysis than everybody else, but hey, it is what it is, right? This is from 20 years of research on this subject that's happening right now in front of our face. It includes gold, silver manipulation, crypto manipulation, bank fraud, secrets behind the Federal Reserve, all that stuff. So let's talk about the repos right now. We need to get our head around and our hands around what these repos are and are they working. So here's an article from Zero Hedge. Fed's term repo 2x oversubscribed as banks brace for quarter end funding shortage. Now, as I recall, the reason they were short was corporate taxes that were due on the 15th. But now all of a sudden there's a quarter end funding. It's ridiculous. They are failing. The New York Fed's first term repo operation over a decade, which has a 14-day term. Now, the 75 billion bailouts are just 24-hour bailouts. So you can't add them up. I'll talk about that in a second. You can't add them up, 75 plus 75. No, they mature 24 hours later, so it's the same 75 being recycled. But these are different. Let me give you a quick rundown of what the Fed is actually doing. This is from the Fed of New York. This is the repo schedule. Now there's 3 term repos, which means they pick a specific amount of time. I think it's 14 days. And then the rest are just overnights. Okay, so Monday, which is would be overnight last night, it is just a $75 billion facility. So the banks come up, they give the Fed some shitty collateral. Well, no, it's treasury bonds and mortgage-backed securities. But it's just an overnight loan. So the next day they have to settle up. It's short-term money, it's cheap money. But most of the time they just roll it over. So it looks like it's 75 plus 75 is 150, but it's not. It's just 75 a night. Now they have this other thing called a 14-day term repo. Now that's for 2 weeks. They lend you the money and you give them collateral, and those are $30 billion each, and there's 3 of them. So if you look at the total money that's going to be spent so far on the bank bailout, it's $90 billion, which is the 3 30-day terms, $90 billion for 14 days. So after 14 days, they got to figure out something else. Plus the 75 that just keeps rotating. So right now we're at 165 billion short-term rotating repos. That's how much trouble the banks are in. So New York Fed first term repo operation in over a decade, which is a 14-day term, thus captures the liquidity draining quarter end year period, has concluded, and it confirmed that banks are hunkering down ahead of quarter end by tendering some 62 billion in securities for the 30 billion operation, making it more than 2x oversubscribed. So some banks, 32 billion didn't get filled. And while we await the details of the regular overnight repo to be printed, which is being held again today and every day into October, here are some details on today's repo. The Fed accepted, so here's what they're taking as collateral. The Fed accepted 22.7 billion in treasuries at a top stop-out rate of 1.9% with weighted average rate at 1.96%, both well above the IOER, and confirming that there was indeed quite a bit more demand than supply. And while the Fed did not accept agency debt, it accepted 7.27 billion of mortgage-backed debt. Now, the mortgage-backed securities we all know are frauds. Nothing has changed. Nothing was fixed. Let's keep that in mind. To be sure, the Fed's term repo was always expected to be heavily used, which is also why there are at least 2 more $30 billion repos this week. So a lot of people say, Bix, I thought there wasn't going to be a bailout. This isn't the big bailout. This is the little bailouts. This is the keep the can going long enough before people notice bailout. The big bailout will be us deciding. Will be Congress deciding to bail out the banks like we did in 2007, the $700 billion that Hank Paulson came to Congress for. except it will be more than 700 billion. I heard someone say they're going to need 2 trillion. I don't think so. I think it's 20 trillion. I think it's 20 trillion, and I still don't think that will be enough. I'll get to that in a second. So that's what's going on. Banks are in hella trouble. Started in mid-September, probably September 11th, but we'll get to that in a second. Cryptos are all down today. Everybody's wondering what's going to happen with the wedge. Remember the wedge? It was all coming to a head the day of BACT. It's going to be great. It's going to bust through. Or it's going to be hell. It's going to crash down to the bottom. Well, now we know what the banks had planned. They clicked the mouse and voila, the market riggers. These aren't whales. It takes no crypto to slam the price of crypto. You gotta know that it takes control over these exchanges. That very little crypto is actually traded. It's just like silver. There is no difference. And with the addition of BACT, it's going to get worse. Although I have some hope for, maybe not hope for BACT, but there's something I want to talk about. All right, so yeah, all cryptos are getting nailed today. What do? You hodl. Dollar cost average if you don't have all your cryptos. I don't know how far to go down. I don't care. I'm a hodler. We're getting near to the end of the system. I've said it a million times. When the banks go down, the exchanges will go down. You won't know the price of your cryptos. Just keep that in mind if you sit there and hodl through the insanity. At the end of the day, when things start up again, you're going to be extremely happy that you have cryptos and gold and silver, mainly silver. So my friend Bitcoin Ben came out with a really cool video. I agree with some of it. I disagree with some of it as well. And he talks about what we disagree with. He gets the repo a little screwed up. He thought the 75 was cumulative. So he said after 10 days it would be 750. It's not. It's daily. So the repos are either rolled over. It's the same 75, just going back and forth and round and round. But what I want to talk about is what he was talking about. His main point, and the point I don't agree with the people who are talking to Ben, is that you can take the derivative market and shove it into cryptocurrencies. And it cannot happen. It was designed not to be fixed. That's the key. That I don't think they understand that. There is no saving this market. There is no crypto solution to the derivative problem that was built to destroy the market, not to enhance the market. And the second thing, let's just say in some strange universe, this is possible, what Ben is talking about that they want to do. Some bizarre universe that it is possible. It doesn't fix any of the problems we have today. It doesn't fix the debt. It doesn't fix the derivative problem. It just turns them into crypto derivatives. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't fix the government problem. It doesn't fix the pedophile problem. It fixes none of those problems. It doesn't fix the market rigging problem. As a matter of fact, it would probably make it worse. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't fix the DTCC. It doesn't fix the criminal exchange called ICE and BACT. It doesn't fix anything. So if it is possible to shove all the derivatives into cryptos, which I'll show in a second, it's impossible. But if it was, it didn't fix anything, and we're exactly where we were before. So no, I'm not a fan of that plan. It doesn't matter if I'm a fan or not. It won't work, basically. So here's why. You got to get your hands around what a derivative is and how big this problem is. Buffett can say it's a weapon of mass financial destruction all at once. What does it mean? Can you take a weapon of mass financial destruction and put it in a cryptocurrency derivative solution? Let's look how big the problem is. And here's a great visualization from Visual Capitalist. I love these. And this is a little old, but it's still good. This little box represents 100. Each square is the size of worth $100 billion. So that's the silver market. Little tiny, tiny box. There's the cryptocurrency market, or it used to be. A little tiny box. Okay? Here's some of the biggest companies out there. Berkshire Hathaway, Microsoft, Alphabet, Apple. Those are big boxes. Compared to the silver and cryptocurrency, those are huge. That's a $807 billion representation. And here's the 50 richest people on planet Earth. $1.9 trillion. And that's a bigger box. There's California's GDP, 2.9 trillion. Compared to silver, tiny. Compared to cryptos, tiny. The Fed's balance sheet, 3.5 trillion. Wow, that's getting big. And then we have all the currencies around the world. $7.6 trillion. That is huge. You cannot fix $7.6 trillion because these are all derivatized. And then the gold market, 7.7 trillion. Pretty big, huh? How about the stock markets? Now, stock markets are derivative markets. Don't forget that. They are derivatives. They are not real assets. They're representations of ownership of a company or of a whatever that market is trading. Look how big that is. You cannot shove that into, that's $73 trillion, cannot all be derivatized or be tokenized. And even if you did, it wouldn't change anything. It's just adding a derivative onto the derivative. How about this? This is the global money supply. $36.8 trillion worth of money. And remember how tiny that crypto market. The broad money supply, $90 trillion. And it's all fraud. It can't be fixed with cryptocurrencies or tokenization. How about global debt? This is the biggest problem for mankind right now is debt. You can't get rid of it if you tokenize it all. All you're doing is sticking it in a token. You're still obligated to pay the interest on the debt. $215 trillion. How about the real estate market? $217 trillion. Look at all that. Now here we go. This is what Ben's people are telling him they're going to tokenize. Now remember, they plan on tokenizing this. This is the derivative market. The low estimate, $544 trillion. Look how big this market is. It's still going because this is the high end, 1.2 quadrillion. the audacity of the crypto people who are trying to make this transition to think that they could take a market like that and funnel it into cryptocurrencies and solve any problem. It's just beyond the scope. One of the biggest problems in derivatives is that every derivative can be different. They tried to standardize it after 2008, and they only got like 50 or 60% of them standardized. The rest are individual contracts on a piece of paper or on a computer, and it says, on this date, you're going to pay me 186 tons of silver, and I'm going to pay you $19.43 for that silver, unless the sky is blue and dogs are barking. In that case, it rolls over for 3 more days, and you're going to pay me $20.15. Unless the stock market goes down 5%, then you're going to add another 7.6% on top of that. Unless you go bankrupt, then everything fails. You cannot take a customized contract in derivatives, which half of these are, and shove it into a cryptocurrency trading exchange that is number one criminal. We know the New York Stock Exchange, the COMEX, the LBMA. Who's the COMEX owned by? ICE. So that's Jamie Dimon and the criminals at JP Morgan have already been busted. And their self-regulating entity means they're on the hook. The COMEX should be on the hook. The CFTC hasn't said a word about the 3 investigations they did with the COMEX on silver market rigging during the time that now it is obvious and it has been proven that the market was being rigged. 0 comment. So will ICE be around? Are they culpable for anything at all in their criminal exchanges? They will be. ICE is not long for this world. So, and ISON's backed. But back to derivatives. Here's a great, this one always cracked me up. So, how will the crypto guys take this derivative bet, for example? Warren Buffett bet $40 billion on volatility in 2008. And you know when those contracts start coming due? Right in October. Absolutely. Here it is. Now, this was written in 2008. About a month ago, Warren Buffett sold $40 billion worth of insurance against four major indices in the world. The European-style options, which can only be exercised on their expiration date, which were sold, are against four major international indices, including the S&P. The options will expire between 2019 and 2027. It's reported that Berkshire received $4.5 billion in cash for writing these contracts. Right now, he's in the money. Who are the counterparties? Did Warren Buffett hedge this bet? Who are the counterparties to that? See, it gets so ugly that you're like, well, that's not in any exchange. That contract's not in any of these exchanges. OTC derivatives are unknown. This isn't even counted in those big black dots I just showed you. It is insane what the crypto people think they can do to fix the problem. And second of all, it doesn't fix anything. The contracts are still 100% in force and same, even if you tokenize them. All you're doing is you're adding a derivative on top of a derivative on top of a derivative. You're turning tokens into derivatives. It ain't going to happen. So what are you going to get? You're going to get crypto manipulation. See, I don't think this is whale manipulation. This is 100% planned. It was planned years ago. The current takedown of cryptocurrencies right as backed is introduced. I mean, that's the only hope for backed, is that it sticks to what it claims is doing, which is daily settlement of cryptocurrency. If that's true, which it might be, I mean, the volumes were so low, it was under $1 million that was traded on the first day. But that's what these markets should be. They shouldn't be selling 21 million Bitcoin every day, trading back and forth. So we'll see. There's a plan and it's being executed. How far down will they take the cryptos? I don't know. They can take them to zero if they want. It's a click of a mouse. You got to remember, it's all rigged. And we're in it for the end of the manipulation. And the derivatives will cause that. Speaking of manipulation, U.S. equities futures rallied after the close, following comments by Steve Mnuchin that China's vice premier will visit next week. Have you noticed it goes this way and this way and this way and back and forth? Mnuchin's got his finger on the hand of the Exchange Stabilization Fund. He's probably the one rigging the cryptos. There's no whales in there. You don't need any cryptos to rig the crypto markets. You can sell stuff you don't own. And if you're the Treasury Secretary, you have a little pull over these exchanges. You say, hey, we're coming in to do an operation. I don't want any of your people buying. We're going to slam the price down. If you don't like it, we're going to take you out. Voila. You have cooperation with the U.S. government that we know and love. Here's an interesting thing. Talking about the JP Morgan trader who got busted, blah, blah, blah. But down at the end of this, talk about Craig Hemke, who's awesome. George Ferguson. Hemke, who chronicled price rigging and the failure of the CFTC for years, made a remarkable connection after reading the news coverage of Mike Nowak, JP Morgan's head of global trading for precious metals and commodities. Nowak is one of 3 former JP Morgan's traders recently indicted. Nowak's attorney is David Mester. I remember that dude. Mester led the CFTC Enforcement Division during the failed 5-year investigation of price rigging. He and his team managed somehow to overlook what we now know to be massive criminal enterprise at the banks. 1 week after concluding the investigation in 2013, Messner decided to leave for greener pastures. He joined the law firm Skadden, Arps, Slate, Megan, and Flom, and has been representing Wall Street firms and bankers ever since. He will now put his insider knowledge of regulations and CFTC's enforcement weakness to work defending Michael Nowak. That is insane. That is talk about a conflict of interest. This guy, Mester, should be being arrested along with Nowak. They colluded together, and now he's defending him? Oh my God. Nice job, turd. And this is what you get. If you just watch what's going to happen to cryptocurrencies, the market rigging control by the U.S. government and the banks within the U.S. is 100%. It's not 5% chance. It's not 10%. It doesn't happen once in a while. It's 100%, 100% of the time. It has been since the 1970s. 100% of the time, the market rigging. So if you guys really want back to come on because you love the backed exchange and you love the big money's going to come in, expect something like this in cryptocurrency. This is 20 years. And this is what I've been fighting for 20 years. It's exhausting. You're going to get tired. You're going to say, those bastards, they cheat, they lie, they steal. And they do. If you keep the derivatives in the game, you try to tokenize everything, look at what you're going to get in cryptocurrencies over at least the next 10 years, it'll be nice and flat, just like they like it. So you crypto guys who are making these big decisions to bring the derivatives into the tokenization world, bad move. We need to destroy the old system and start fresh, in my opinion. And the weirdest thing of yesterday was this Greta chick, little girl, who knows what kind of ring she's involved in. I'm sure you all saw it. If you haven't yet, on UN climate change, it was the weirdest, sickest thing I've seen in a long time. She looked like she's one of those mind control kids. Check it out. It just rings so false and so plastic and so odd and so weird. And of course, what do I see? Who does she meet with right after she gives her thrilling little speech? Mr. Barack Obama. These people are sick. I had something to say about the fist pump, but I'm not gonna, because I'm not that sick. The dam could break on Thursday. Here are 12 quotes that digital Democrats are primed to impeach Trump. So I hope the Democrats bring impeachment against Trump because it'll speed things up on the backside of the takedown of the deep state. All of a sudden, you're going to start seeing these Congress people go to jail. So let's all hope for the impeachment proceedings to move forward. Because Trump has like 50 aces up each sleeve, and whichever one he wants to play, he can play at any moment. And it would speed things up. Anyway, join the Patreon channel, Road to Ruta Patreon. Just posted the latest, Ruta's Black Tears. And don't forget, if you want everything, join the private road at Road to Ruta. It's a crazy time, and I'm going to try to keep everybody up to speed about what's going on from the Road to Ruta angle, and it's going to get a lot worse. So hang on tight. I'll talk to you guys later.